Data is the new oil. Data is really going to be that central thing for everyone to gain an advantage. What data is going to start doing is the same type of things for everyone with the changes in the access to compute power and also artificial intelligence.
Nathan Johnson,
CEO of Stratus Advanced Technologies.
Data wizard, system wrangler.
Tinker.
All these amazing emerging technologies and everything everyone's doing is going to need that good, clean, structured data in order to really provide the benefits back to everyone.
There was a study in Germany, 51% of German companies, they don't see a business advantage in generative AI.
Oh, it's huge. I actually think that poll is probably pretty accurate. But the thing is, what's still amazing about it is think about the last technology that came out that 50% of businesses said that it'll do something for them.
The beginning of the internet.
That's a pretty big 50%. One of the things that people need to be aware of with AI is that AI has a very, 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 very false sense of confidence because it has no contextual awareness to what it's saying. But the thing is, it always says it with such conviction. So it's always like, of course, and yes, and this is it, right? And that's one of the things that I think as an adult, we've learned from talking to other adults, just because they have conviction doesn't mean necessarily that they are correct.
Welcome to the High Performance CEO Show, your exclusive insight into the strategies and success habits of the world's top CEOs. I'm your host, Sebastian Schieke, entrepreneur, mentor, and business angel. Prepare to grow your business, enhance your leadership skills, and thrive in today's world. Let's dive in. Today I'm talking to Nathan. Nathan Johnson is a very experienced data wizard. He runs Stratus Advanced Technology, and we talked about in the pre-call that data is the new oil. And let's see how Nathan is using the oil to help companies being more successful and expanding their business. So Nathan, welcome to the show.
Thank you. I'm super excited to be here. I wanted to talk about this stuff for a little while with you, so it's been a long time coming.
Yeah. So what do you mean by data is the new oil?
Yeah, so the flow of oil was a significant thing because it made a huge change to the Industrial Revolution, obviously from lubrication to fuel. And effectively what it was very transportable, dense, empowerment for everyone. So from being able to, move trains, to build vehicles, to heat houses, to all these things, it empowered literally our population to completely change everything we're doing, including, can't forget plastic, the amount of hygienic improvement the world went through because of that. And so when I say data is the new oil, what data is going to start doing is the same type of things for everyone, which we've been doing over a long period of time. But with the changes in the access to compute power and also artificial intelligence, data is really going to be that central thing for everyone to gain an advantage. Just like a car is really only as useful as when it's full of gasoline, it's going to be the same thing. All these amazing emerging technologies and everything everyone's doing is going to need that good, clean, structured data in order to really provide the benefits back to everyone.
Yeah. And I would argue now with AI, we actually have the first time real tools to make use of all the data. Yeah?
I would agree. The big thing that AI did was it shrunk the interface. A big part that's really difficult is that people like, say, a doctor or a mechanic, they spend their life becoming really, really good at, helping people or, fixing mechanical devices. And it's really hard to also say, let's throw on top of that, data analysis, data science, computer usage, all these different things. No, they're specializing in helping humans with their bodies or mechanical devices. Things like ChatGPT and other large language models and stuff shrunk the interfacing requirement for those people to engage with data. Now a mechanic can simply talk in their natural language, whatever language they happen to speak, and they can gain insight and access to huge amounts of data and data points without having to, open spreadsheets or large data sets or databases to try and figure that stuff out. So that's, in my opinion, one of the greatest improvements that they've made with AI is that they've shrunk the interface drastically.
Or say it in other words, we democratize data. Yeah? So it's available for everyone, and everyone is able to access it. And as you said, even a mechanic can speak in plain language with a large language model and get information out.
Yeah,
which
it's huge.
amazingly changes how we interact and how we work.
Well, I would say that like even a bigger part of this too is the availability of a teacher that doesn't run out of calories or patience. Like, because I can't tell you how many people I run into and meet, and I literally want to pick apart their brain and keep going, and they eventually got to go home and sleep, but I want to keep going. And the great thing about, those large language models is that they can keep going and going and going, keep drilling down and down and down, and keep, you have to take them with a grain of salt. They're not 100% perfect, but you have access to a teacher that doesn't get exhausted, that's available at 3 a.m. when you're wide awake thinking about why do monkeys love bananas so much.
Exactly. Yeah. And I mean, just to be fair, I mean, human teachers also not 100% correct. I mean, they also happen to make mistakes.
Oh, you're telling me you've corrected your teachers before there, Sebastian?
Never, but I have arguments sometimes with teachers of my kids,
Yeah, no, sure. Yeah.
Well, I wish I would have arguments. I mean, I'm not this helicopter parent, but sometimes I really think, hey, I mean, give me a break. This is completely wrong what you say. And
but it's a good skill kids have to learn. They have to learn how to deal with, when you get wrong information, how to, control yourself and maybe approach it from a good angle.
Exactly. Yeah, these are life skills. I mean, you get wrong information from the internet, you get wrong information from AI sometimes. It's very interesting. I was Googling for what is the largest pharmacy in Frankfurt. Yeah? And I think it was Bart, with full conviction that this pharmacy, which is basically next to my office, is the largest pharmacy in Frankfurt. I said, all right, this is a small pharmacy with just one room, it doesn't have thousands of square meters of space. This happens. Yeah.
Oh, for sure. And it's definitely one of the things that people need to be aware of with AI is that AI has a very, 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 very false sense of confidence because it has no contextual awareness to what it's saying. So the idea is that a lot of times when people are interfacing with large language models, what it's doing is, like, at a simple sense, is you're typing in a sentence, and the large language model is effectively writing the sentences that should follow your sentence. That's what it's doing. It's not actually saying, oh, analyzing what a pharmacy is and figuring it out. It just knows what sentences should follow. But the thing is, it always says it with such conviction. So it's always like, of course, and yes, and this is it, right? And that's one of the things that I think, as an adult, we've learned from talking to other adults, just because they have conviction doesn't mean necessarily that they are correct.
Yeah, right, yes. So you run Stratus Advanced Technologies. What exactly are you doing in the data space? I mean, you mentioned that companies who want to be successful in the future, they need to have structured data.
Yeah.
One of the key elements.
Yeah, for sure. So Stratus was a fever dream of mine. Since I was young, I've always been super obsessed with systems. I was the guy that would take things apart just to know how everything worked interconnected. But then I was also that pain in the butt kid that didn't put it back together either. But I learned later as an adult, put it back together to be fair to everyone else. So, my wife can use her toaster or whatever. So the idea was that with Stratus, I really wanted to take that even further. And so a big thing that I learned throughout my career was that the really core importance to what businesses do is how good the information is within the company. Mm-hmm. And we wanted to be a company that could go to places and help empower them to reinforce and get good information. And the reason this is critical is that if we said use a restaurant as an example, and what you did was you asked your waiters and waitresses to ask every day, can you write down, what people ordered, what they liked, when they came in, all these different things. You just tell them to round this all up. And at the end of the day, we're going to sit down and we're going to talk about this so we can make adjustments to our restaurant. What Stratus wants to do is come in and say, that's not the greatest use for people because you're going to have all sorts of biases. What if one waitress is tired and one waiter wasn't paying attention, or it's super busy and they're all forgetting? Data solutions can help do that same thing, but much faster and provide much cleaner, more accurate data. the reality of it is that as much as people can be involved in the collection and use of data, it's better to not have them involved because you don't want individual biases or misunderstandings to provide bad insight, because companies want the best insights so the company can do better. Therefore, their team, employees, everyone does better in context. So at Stratus, that's something that we heavily focus on at a bigger scale than restaurants. So we focus on dealing with industry, commercial, and larger organizations, making sure all the information floating around their business is as clean, structured, and accessible as possible. So a lot of what we do is we're in the background working underneath the hood, making adjustments and tweaks to a lot of the client's information so that then they say, hey, I want to approach a large language model. Hey, I want to approach data scientists. Hey, I'd like to approach just, algorithms, portals, data visualization, business information systems like, say, Microsoft Power BI or Zoho, business information systems, things like that. It sets them up for much more success than trying to use any data they have that is coming from sources that aren't as useful. The other part too is that we can automate all this. So that's a big thing that we do is we go in and make sure that this is done like automatically so that it can be done at a hyper scale. So if you're told every waitress to, track every movement of an employee or a customer, or every single time anyone orders potatoes, it would become overwhelming for them. But a lot of this can be done through systems. And a lot of restaurants will have these systems in place. Like as they place orders into their till, that'll be tracked. This is something just as an example. But we can help amplify and take that information and really analyze things down to seconds and minutes, which would be next to impossible for people or even some certain systems to be able to maintain.
So take a mid-size company, maybe from what industry do we take?
Manufacturing.
Okay. Yeah. So what can they do to prepare the data so that in the future or the near future they can leverage large language models and make use of all this AI capabilities which is out there? What could be a typical approach for them?
Yeah. So that's a perfect example. So large language models, let's go on ChatGPT. So just to be clear for everyone, ChatGPT is a general large language model, the one that's exposed. It can do lots of other things, but it's a general one. So there are other language models that are much more specific. So an example in a manufacturer, there's sort of two really complex points in manufacturing, which is maintenance and production. Maintenance is keeping everything in the facility working. And when you go into these medium-sized manufacturing facilities, there is a lot of equipment and there's a lot of things going on. And these things like, each piece of equipment could have 60 manuals. So a big thing that a large language model can do is you can simply provide all the manuals for, say, an individual machine. And instead of people coming to the machine and trying to troubleshoot, they can use large language models to analyze and read and search through these huge chunks of documents whenever there's a problem for the related context and information that would be needed to help service, maintain, and improve the quality of that machine's output. So that's a really, really strong use for large language models. The other part too in manufacturing is production. So anyone that knows about manufacturing is that when you're hiring people for production or just involved in the things, you have a very, very wide demographic of people. That means multiple languages, multiple understandings, multiple educations, multiple community and social economic statuses, and that changes the way people interact. So the nice thing that large language models that say are more compatible with varieties of demographics and languages, they can actually take the time to, say, upload manuals, do translations, provide people with better help or information, or even in the case of safety or where to get parts or how to get help, and really amplify to bring in production staffs that aren't to the demographic of where maybe the manufacturer exists, and really empower the people to be much more productive, to get access to training, to improve, and to do a lot of those things. So it reduces a lot of the barriers for that. So those are two.
And as you said, you can provide the large language model will be able to answer in different languages, different human languages, which is amazing. You can train it, so you can feedback information. It's growing and developing over time, and would be an amazing assistant to staff working in a factory.
Yep.
Yeah, you can have handhelds which they carry around, which they use, and even now with the visual parts of AI, where you can take pictures and upload it to the large language model. Imagine you take a picture from a machine or from an arrow code, and then the large language model really tells you, okay, this is wrong, and here you need to fix it.
Oh, yeah. The other big one that we didn't even touch on is that those are great examples, is the transfer of education is a huge one, large language models. So here at Stratus, we actually we have a good demographic, like diverse group of people. We've got men, women, people from different places in the world, different languages, things like that. And one of the things that's actually I ran into a little while ago, and I had to think about this, was I was talking with a member of our team, and I said to him, "Hey, you're doing a good job. So you've got a good understanding of something." Now, for anyone that speaks English, good doesn't mean the best or great or perfect. It's sort of like a in between the middle and the top, right? And he looked at me and he was like, "Yeah," he's like, "Awesome, I did good," right? And then he took off, and I was like, I think I just told him he did perfect because of the language barrier. And so I had to think about that a bit, and I went and talked to him. I said, do you have is there different words for this? And I explained to him sort of using numbers that I said, like more like 7 out of 10, not quite 10. And he's like, oh, and then he's like, do you mean this? And we corrected it. So he understood that there was still some more education to go. So this wasn't like a disciplinary thing. This was more us talking about his learning and where he was within the company. And I thought to myself, one of the struggles is that, say, you take two languages together. I'm guessing your natural language is German?
Yes.
Yeah.
Right.
So for me and you, I understand a little bit of German from high school, not very much, but you speak it fluently. So for you and I to educate each other on the nuances of our intelligence, so the very far reaches of our intelligence, both of us would have to have a very high understanding of English and German to both be able to trade information at the highest capacity. We can do the basics because you're very well spoken with English, and that helps me out a lot because I can maybe ask you how to order some French fries or something in German, but that's about it. And that's really important because large language models should actually be able to help people tear down those barriers. So if you have people coming from a demographic that are really intelligent, but they can't speak the language well enough to understand or apply it, a large language model might be able to help them cross that barrier and really make a change for the companies embracing it. And I think that's a huge, huge understatement of what is a capability of AI right now, is that even if it does it at like say 97%, if I could translate to you a super high level data concept, but it comes to you in German, that'll be easier for you to digest, learn, and then take that knowledge and grow upon it, as opposed to if I explain it in English, you have then 2 layers to sort of translate and figure out.
That's right. I mean, what I find really interesting is when you look at professionals and ask them about AI, you have a small number of people who are really into it. They really understand the capabilities and they understand the power. Majority thinks, well, I mean, this is something you can use to write a blog post or create some pictures. Yeah. And there was a study in Germany a couple of weeks ago, which I saw on the internet, which really surprised me. I said 51% of German companies, they don't see a business advantage in generative AI. And I thought, really? I mean, have you ever looked at it? I mean, I do a lot with AI, but I would never call myself a complete expert. I mean, there's so much going on behind the scene, which probably not many people understand and know. But seeing these business cases, and I mean, we're helping coaches a lot utilize AI bots in their practice, because they are really afraid that they've been replaced by artificial intelligence in the future. And I say, okay, you won't be replaced, but you might be replaced by someone who's leveraging AI. So make sure you know how to use it, offer your customers additional services, maybe additional coaching bots, which they can use, and really understand what's behind and really understand the business case and what is possible. In your case, using it to break language barriers. Very good example. or leveraging it for manufacturing and maintenance, helping factory workers really get behind issues and problems. I mean, there's a vast amount of business cases which we probably haven't even thought about yet.
Oh, it's huge. And I actually think that poll is probably pretty accurate. But the thing is, what's still amazing about it is think about the last technology that came out that 50% of businesses said that it'll do something for them. Like that's like locomotive or a car or, electricity. Like, that's a pretty big 50%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or maybe the beginning of the internet, people thought, the internet will go away.
Yeah. I think it's a fad. It's a fad. And I think with AI, a lot of people are like, this business case for it is that the current state of AI, the generative pre-trained transformers, are amazing at dealing with memory-based problems. So that's
looking the past.
Information. Like say if you have a doctor and they're a heart surgeon and they spend all of their life working on heart surgery. Even if they spent all of their life, let's say, I'm going to make up some numbers here, but they read 50,000 books. So they would literally have to read every day to read through 50,000 books. ChatGPT can read through 50,000 books in no time at all, probably in minutes in retrospect. But there's probably also like hundreds of thousands of books on heart surgery. So the big thing is that what generative pre-trained transformers have done is they've really taken a run at the memory industries. So the industries where existing knowledge, right? Exactly. So the thing is like coaching, marketing, writing, things like that are going to be impacted by ChatGPT. And really, I don't think it's ever going to replace people because we still need that, structured chaos that we enjoy. We want to be surprised and altered. Computers are terrible at that. But those industries are going to definitely have to adjust. I don't think they're going anywhere. I think they have to adjust and improve with it. The big part of why I don't think that this version of AI is really the big one that would be more scary. The one that would be more scary to me is the one that could understand context, because context is so much complexity to anything. Like even the word hello. If you say the word hello, it only means something when you're greeting someone or someone has come to you. If someone's walking away and you say hello, it doesn't make any sense. You can do it, but contextually it's wrong. And this is a very simple thing. But the current large language models don't understand that. They understand that if you ask them a question like, what do I do when someone walks up to me? They know that the next sentence should be, you should greet them, right? But they don't understand the context. So I think the big artificial intelligence moves that are like sort of missing from a lot of industries, like say if you go into manufacturing or mechanical work or even like say food and stuff, those industries, as much as they are sort of like, there's a lot of like doing the same thing in repetition, those are actually very contextual industries. You may serve a plate of potatoes, sausage and vegetables, but every single person might ask for that plate differently and for different reasons. Might be dietary, might be preference, might be spice, might be they want more sauce, they want less sauce, they want sauce on the side, they want, a different type of sauce. And so that's where artificial intelligence, I think the hard part for them to be like, oh, here's a model that gets context. That will be the one that I think everyone will say, oh, if that actually exists, holy moly, yeah, 100%, we're completely on board. But that also involves us having to go into what's called the data set of negative space. And that is a realm that is inconceivably complicated that maybe we'll get to, but I don't see it soon, but
I just wanted to ask you, what's your prediction when we see first sort of versions of contextual AI?
Oh, if I see contextual AI, like that one's going to be, it's hard to explain. It would be something that I'm super, super interested in, but like I would probably be in doubt. Like I would be in doubt if I saw contextual AI just because like from a programmer standpoint, the large language model, the generative pre-trained transformers, all that stuff, we've been able to sort of rationalize it for about the last 40, 50 years. And a lot of people don't understand that the reason it's coming to existence now is because we have more compute power. We just have like tons more power. So now we can do these things and it's great. And I'm saying the fundamental ideas, not the specifically the white papers on all the things that made this, just the ideas have been around for 40, 50 years. But contextual AI would be it would change our reality. Like it would be from a programmatic standpoint to write even a contextual algorithm on the word hello is hugely complicated. It would just be inconceivable for a computer to come up with a way that it could completely understand it. But as a human, you and I, you have kids, I have kids, we can teach them how to say hello quite easily, and they get the context of it pretty quick. I'm not going to say immediately, but if I saw contextual AI, I think I would be, that's the one I would worry about. That would be like, I'd be scratching my head going,
But still, I mean, what we got so far is already amazing. Yeah, I mean, imagine you have a company, big corporate, and there's so much institutional knowledge, which is in. I mean, I work for 23 years. I run a consultancy, and we work a lot with banks, and we have so much documentation, so many Word document, Excel spreadsheets, financial models, etc. And if you feed all this data into an AI, into personal ChatGPT, I mean, the power this brings to an organization, where, hey, I mean, just ask the AI how we did this a couple of years ago, and look for patterns and come up with new solutions based on past experiences, all these use cases, which at the moment are only, I mean, you can only touch on them and with a lot of effort and manpower.
Yeah. And even on top of that, I think in the context you're talking about, especially with banks, I think that there's a space in AI that is probably, if I guess my personal opinion on what the next step that's coming is going to be, the negative space models of artificial intelligence. And
so, sorry, would you explain for the listeners, what is a negative space model?
Okay, so naturally, when you're learning math, let's say, you learn things in base 10, generally. You understand, 1, 10, 100, and then you learn 1/10, 100, all those things, decimal places. And so if I say to you, 4 plus 2 equals 6, you know that. So then if you ask sort of an opposite question, like 4 plus x equals 6, we know that the x should be 2. So when you're doing anything from a mathematical standpoint, like say you're thinking in base 10, a lot of people, when you say the number 4, in your head pops 6. And it's just because it's the closest thing base 10. And what that is that's the opposite. That's the space that's not filled. And that would be if you're working with tens. So if you're a company and you work in, say, thousands, and you say the number 250, the negative space for that is 750. So everything that we do as a human, we have this, it's almost like a second feeling of what's missing. So if we're in a room and there's a door, we know on the opposite side of the door, there is stuff. But if you put an AI in a room and it can only see within the room, it only knows what exists within the room. So there's negative space. There's things that it's not aware of. If you talk to an AI about, say, walking, it understands the premise of the ground that it's on, but not necessarily the difference in what different types of ground are or different types of height or what the sky is. So we don't specifically teach AI programs, algorithms to focus on the opposite of what they're doing. So when we teach them to do math, we're telling them to add two things together and come up with an answer, but we're not telling it to also pay attention to what is not there. Because that can go into a lot of things where I say, like, it's not a, like, if you thought of the number 4, why 6? Why is it the negative space of 10? Well, it could be the negative space of infinity. It could be a whole bunch of things. But what happens is you're always talking about not necessarily predicting into the future, but saying that what else is beyond what I just analyzed or understood. So in a bank, if you had, say, a negative space model, you would feed in all the financial transactions into this model. And the model would then feed back all the opposite stuff. So this person spent $17 on a hamburger. Well, what didn't they do? What could have happened? What is the things that are missing that are in the opposite of what was provided? So it's writing algorithms and models that are actually telling you the opposing. And the reason it's important is because as humans, we can immediately determine the opposing outcome of something very quickly. So if we don't buy the hamburger, we'll be hungry. So that sort of is the opposite.
Or we will stay healthy in the long run, because we don't eat junk food.
For sure. Yeah, I agree with you on that one. But also then you might be sad because you didn't have a hamburger, and the vicious cycle starts. But I think that one is the next one that you're going to see following large language models, because I think that would be sort of, to me, one of the next steps to having some context to the fact that it's like a sentence following a sentence. But if you're analyzing stuff, a lot of the insight, and especially businesses, they're looking to say what is it that we missed? What is it that we could have done? What is also going on that we could help with? So that's something I think humans naturally are really good at. It's part of our survival mechanics. It's like, it's the basis of like the what if scenarios, which are, we try to teach kids not to what if everything because they get paralyzed. But the idea is that if I go down my hallway to the left and go around the corner, what's there? I don't know exactly at this exact moment. And if I asked an AI, it would just guess at a whole bunch of different things. But you can write out we can have negative space models and algorithms. They have to have thresholds. Like as I said, in order to think of 4 and to have 6 be the negative space, you have to have a threshold of 10 or a maximum limit or something like that. And I think that's something that's going to come quickly with artificial intelligence, is us sort of giving it so that you engage with a large language model and it's going to tell you things you can't really think about or conceive from huge data sets. So it could tell a bank a whole bunch of different avenues of business. It could tell them you didn't realize that all these people that are buying these hamburgers, you can't see that they're all going to the gym. But include a gym membership with your bank account or something, right?
Yeah. A question which just popped in my head. The development costs for training these language models, they're immense. I mean, I recently read that I think OpenAI, they need to invest $700,000 a day to work on ChatGPT. I mean, at the moment, we are in sort of a initial phase where we get acquainted with it, we start utilizing it. But there must be a point where we really have this massive business impact in terms of financial gain in order to finance the upcoming development.
Yeah.
So somewhere we have to make money with AI development, or we have to save a lot of costs in order to justify the upcoming development cycles and the costs associated with.
Oh,
so where do you see? I mean, it's just an idea which crossed my mind.
Yeah, it was. I listened to a presentation a while back, and I can't remember the exact person presenting it, but they sort of explained how technology advances, and I think it was around the iPhone 10. The guy explained if they had tried to build the iPhone in, I believe it was the 50s or 60s, like if they tried to build one iPhone, just to literally build the same compute as one iPhone, it was like something like 67 football fields. There wouldn't be enough electricity in the United States, and it would bankrupt the country to build one iPhone. But as time went on, now 2010, 15, that iPhone is now accessible to everyone at a low cost. AI is sort of going through the same transition. It's very, very expensive today to engage with things like ChatGPT is also a humongous model. It's a general language model. The smaller models can be trained faster, quicker, and they can provide a lot more value. I think the thing that a lot of people are sort of waiting for or looking for is that we have sort of said there's something magical here. And it really hasn't hit that Instagram, I think it's Instagram or Snapchat. It's either Instagram or Snapchat, the one that sent everything sort of flying. So cameras on phones have been around for like a long, long time. And then the iPhone came out. And the reason the iPhone was significant is because it had a much better software platform. And I believe it was either Snapchat or Instagram. The audience can figure out which one it is. But one of those sent the use of the camera and the smartphone to the moon. It all of a sudden changed everyone's thoughts of what that camera thing was. Because I remember when I got my first, you snap it open, takes terrible pictures. And I'm like, well, this is useful. And, I thought to myself, I could take a picture of a book cover or, just random odds and ends. But it wasn't until sort of the social media, share what you're doing, it exploded. And I think that's what we're waiting for in AI is sort of that thing where people are like, oh, that's the thing. Then all of a sudden the technology can get hyper tailored around that and we can figure out more cost-effective ways to do things. Where right now, it's sort of like we have ChatGPT and it's being tested from every angle under the sun. And therefore it has to be quite big and resilient and it needs to have lots of power to sort of prove its point. But it's not the Instagram/Snapchat of that technology, right? That's going to send it sort of flying. And this is, I'm not a shot across the bow at all the other people that made apps that made things huge, like, WhatsApp and other applications that really launched the modern smartphone forward. Is that it's tons of neat little cases for AI. I saw one where they take a picture of you and then they put you in a business suit or put you in a professional background. And so you'd pay $30 and you'd get a whole photo shoot of you in really professional environments. And they made a business out of that. And I'm like, oh, that's really cool. But that's small. It's great.
Nice, but yeah.
Yeah, it's a niche thing. It's not something, everyone's running to grab. So I think what we're waiting for that thing to appear. And then you'll see the costs shift drastically because you'll see mass optimization because they'll say oh, this is the path. Or it's going to be the next evolution of what is being used for generating the artificial intelligence. So there's a lot of technology right now where you can run large language models all the way down to your personal computer. So they are getting it figured out, but it's again, an emerging technology. So I think we're waiting on that what do you call the unicorn, the actual unicorn idea.
The killer app for AI.
App. Yeah, for sure.
But hey, until then, there's a lot to discover and a lot to play with. And when you follow AI news every day, there's something else popping up. And ChatGPT is developing at pregnant speak. Recently, I just read an article that they now released that you can upload PDFs and analyze PDFs.
Yeah, that's
and
huge.
Killing lots of startups with this functionality because around OpenAI, there are a lot of companies, they wrapped around their services like analyzing PDFs and stuff, but now the core product does it, so they are obsolete. So there will be a lot of movement and changes in the industry.
No, absolutely. And I was reading that same article, and I think people need to be careful when they're using AI to build a business. It needs to be I don't think it's something you can bank on. I wouldn't bet your family's future on it, but it's something you should be embracing. The other part too is that a lot of people should also take time to understand that there's always a place for a more focused, better version of something. If you can build a mechanical interface for mechanics that interfaces with ChatGPT, but you can make that interface as friendly as possible to mechanics, there's a business in that, and there's nothing ChatGPT can do to help really kill off your company as long as you're putting a focus on
this niche market.
Yeah, the niche market and the client. So if you're constantly putting the client first and saying hey, how can we get a mechanic to engage with ChatGPT? And that's your business, is the engagement, not specifically ChatGPT. ChatGPT should be the engine, but you should be making the car.
Exactly. I like this example. So where do you see, Stratus developing in next, in the past we said 2 to 3 years, but times are so changes so fast nowadays. So let's say until summer next year, what is your strategy?
Yeah, so we're working on a product that is focused around helping, our ideal client for our company is manufacturers. And we're working on a product right now to help integrate machine maintenance management with artificial intelligence and base level algorithms and understanding to help interfacing with machines reduce the barrier to entry and the ease of access down to a singular point. And so this is a big focus that we're doing also to help ourselves get a better understanding of our data solution products and tools by building this. So we're sort of hitting, I would say, all three, like to me, three of the important things. We're hitting the traditional, which is the machines themselves, which are, they've been around for hundreds of years. And then we're going to be hitting the more of the current technology set, which is going to be algorithms, programming, data management, typical databases to, basic analysis and data science. And we're also going to be leaning into using large language models for primarily creating a better interfacing for that technology. So we're hoping we can pair these all three together to make a really, really revolutionary change to the way people engage with machines as a whole, or even you could say facilities, buildings, and everything. So it's really a goal, and it's also been a passion project of mine for like the last pretty much 8 years to take a look at this. But the timing right now is absolutely amazing just because AI is available. Compute has finally dropped down to a price that is like, it's pennies now for compute. And that allows for a lot more technology for transferring high amounts of information, which can empower us to actually take on this project from a more realistic standpoint than we would, honestly, 2 years ago. It would have been much more difficult than it would be today. So I'm super excited, and that's what we're doing with Stratus.
Amazing. Hey, would love to catch up in a couple of months. Maybe you have another interview in a year's time to see where you are with your vision.
Yeah.
It was amazing having you here, and I really enjoyed this conversation. There will be another couple of episodes around AI, and I'm also hosting a couple of roundtables. So maybe you are interested in joining one of those roundtables where we share and discuss with other experts in the industry these developments. Nathan, thanks a lot for being on the show.
No, I really appreciate you having me here.
Yeah, I wish you all the best.
Awesome. Thanks so much for having me. I look forward to hearing more about your adventures through AI. This is an amazing subject and an amazing time, and I'm really excited to see everyone's opinion on it. I want to hear from kids to grandparents. It's super exciting to learn.
Thanks, Nathan.
Thank you for tuning into the High Performance CEO Show. I'm your host, Sebastian Schieke, and it's been a pleasure serving you. Please subscribe to our show on your favorite platform and leave us a review. Your support helps us reach more listeners and create a bigger impact. Check out our website, sebastianschieke.com, for additional resources. Until next time, be bold, be exceptional, be outstanding, be a leader.